Hi, Steve Saylor here, and I just got back from Summer Game Fest where I got to see the first hour of Dragon Age: The Veilguard, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. The 20-minute preview video that has already been released is actually kind of the first truncated hour of what we were able to see. So I'm going to give sort of my thoughts as we look through the gameplay footage and kind of relate to what I was able to see in the demo. One thing I want to be able to say, just because overall, I actually think this game looks awesome. I have never played a Dragon Age game before. I would love to be able to jump into this one. I know there's a lot of lore surrounding all the different characters that you're going to be interacting with and are your companions throughout the adventure, but I jumped into it and it was pretty. They were able to set it up in a way that makes it sort of familiar for old Dragon Age players, but then also able to jump into if you're a new player into this world. I think that kind of feels like that this is sort of, in a sense, a bit of a soft reboot. I don't want to say, like, you know, the story-wise, because obviously we weren't able to, you know, to know the full story of the game, but it does feel kind of like a bit of a reboot for the series, so that anyone can be able to jump in and be able to play with sort of modern-ish type controls. I will say that we were able to sort of see a brief look at the character customization, and you have the capability of customizing everything as you would whenever you're into a fully-fledged sort of like RPG, creating your own character. You get a lot of options there. They did stress, the game directors actually did stress that there is a lot of options for hair, which I know is an issue in many games for those who are black or of color, that there's not a lot of hair options, but they did stress that there is a lot of hair options available. Obviously, I can't, you know, tell because I am not a person of color to be able to know whether how good those types of hairstyles will be. But they did make a point of pointing that out. And also, the hair actually does kind of react to the environment that you're in. So when you see cinematics with the chosen hair that you have, it reacts to like wind or weather effects essentially as you play. You get to also choose the type of background and also your kind of different sort of class, as it were. I don't know how familiar or how similar that is to the original Dragon Age game or other Dragon Age's games, but that does give you sort of preset kind of character classes and also preset character backgrounds, similar to, you know, how BioWare does it with Mass Effect, and that does affect sort of how certain pieces of dialogue or how certain conversations can be able to go. When it comes to the actual gameplay, I'm going to show some footage and talk about sort of my thoughts on the potential accessibility. I wasn't able to see any of the options, so I don't know what was available. It was just the hour playthrough that was done actually on hand, like it was on stick, so it wasn't just a presentation or pre-recorded video. It was a producer actually playing the game as we were going, and we even had in the crowd that we were, or at least the people who were in the press that we were, the group that I was with, we decided how to react to certain dialogue choices. Like we were able to choose some of those in the room, so it was playable pretty much all the way through. And yeah, let's jump into some of the gameplay, and I'll sort of talk about that. All right, this gameplay is pulled from the 20-minute video that EA and BioWare released a couple of days ago. So I wanted to start here because it shows a little bit of the UI/HUD that is in the game. I do find that the UI HUD, it does have a decent contrast in this scenario, but I am worried about what happens in lighter environments or brighter environments in the background, how well this contrast holds up. I will say that the HUD and UI look a bit small. The default font size is better than I have seen in other games. I just hope that there is the ability to be able to increase the font size or increase the HUD size for stuff like health bars and also objectives, so that it makes it a little bit easier to see, including also adding backing or background to each of the sort of HUD elements, as it were, or just to be able to increase the higher contrast of those elements. In this gameplay, you're not seeing any of the built-in or burnt-in subtitles. In the gameplay footage that I saw, or the gameplay that I saw at Summer Game Fest, they did have subtitles turned on. It had speaker tags, but that was generally about it. There was no opacity background or background in general, and I didn't see it at a larger size. It was pretty much the default size that you see here for the text. But it does give me hope that eventually that might actually be an option. We just couldn't be able to see it based off, we couldn't see the options menu to know what was available at least in the demo. I do like the indications of ranged attacks here that where it has like this sort of arrow pointed line that lets you know where those ranged attacks will hit, and it gives you the option to be able to see where it's going to hit, so you can be able to dodge out of the way. I did find that was a great sort of, a little accessible design element there, especially for attacks that are happening off screen, because you can be able to turn around your camera and those lines will still appear. All right, so you can see here that it does pause the game when you want to be able to switch between different skills and abilities for you and also your companions. That happens by default whenever you want to be able to select a skill. It does pause the game, so it gives you the option to be able to sort of take a minute, be able to figure out what you want to be able to do and the strategy you want to be able to do, and it doesn't sort of disrupt gameplay. Although they did point out in the demo, the producers did say that you can be able to hit a shortcut button for any of your favorite sort of skills or abilities, and they will just happen without having to pause the game outright. And here's where you can be able to see the dialogue choices. Again, I hope that they can be able to increase the font size, which is really great. I did actually also like Nev. She was kind of like my favorite character that I saw throughout the whole thing, so I hope that I can be able to, have a pretty good relationship with Nev as I go. I wanted to look into the audio cues and a lot of what potentially could be seen for blind, low vision players when playing this game. Unfortunately, because I wasn't listening through headphones, I wasn't able to tell if there was any audio cues to be able to help blind or totally blind players to play this. I think because of how frantic the combat is and how chaotic it can be, I am not confident that there will be a lot of sort of accessibility for those players. For low vision, I can see there could be some updates to be able to increase some certain HUD or UI elements to help, and maybe potentially a high contrast mode if there is any, even though I think that there are some enemies that do stand out. Obviously this demon right here has a very glowing purple sort of look to him, so that you can be able to see where they are at any given point, but it does like whenever there's smaller enemies, high contrast would benefit in this regard. So I don't think that just on the surface, or what I was able to tell from the accessible design, there isn't a lot here for the design element of anything for blind low vision players, unless they were able to include in the options. And because I wasn't able to see the options, I couldn't tell what was there. So I have some confidence about this game. I would love to be able to see more of this game. I feel like that this might be a really great Dragon Age to jump into, but as far as anything with accessibility, because there was so little I was able to see or tell, I don't know what's going to be available. Hopefully EA can be able to release a accessibility article that they have done in the past that shows all of the accessibility options that will be available in the game, hopefully sometime in the future. But for right now, there was not a lot I could be able to tell, and I do have some concerns about disabilities with blind low vision, and also for anything for cognitive accessibility, because I feel like there might be a lot on screen that might be too much for those players to be able to discern or be able to play with relative ease or comfortability. So that's all I was able to tell from this gameplay, and also from what I was able to see at Summer Game Fest. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I will get to them as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.